Hello, it's Katia for Metal Wani, and today I am joined by Christofer Johnsson from Therion. We discuss the brand new album, Beloved Antichrist, which will be released at the beginning of February. It's a huge project, 3 full-length CDs, based on a book called A Short Tale of the Antichrist. And in this interview, I promise that you will learn rather incredible facts about the making of this album. Enjoy. I'd like to know how you came in contact with Solovyev's book.
Well, I've had, it goes back to a long time. It must have been 2003 when I was trying to write a classical opera. I wanted to base it on Mikhail Bulgakov's Master and Margarita. Realized that to tell this story, I would need 4 operas, like Richard Wagner needed 4 operas to tell the Nibelungen Ring story. So it was a little bit heavy for a beginner trying to make my first classical opera. So I thought, let's go for something simpler. And I was very much into Russian authors at the time. So I thought maybe Solovyev's Short Tale of Antichrist, because I needed something very dark. I cannot write music for a love story or a comedy. It has to be something dark. Okay. So something that's short and very dark. So it's a short tale of Antichrist. Can't get any better. But then I failed with completing this classical opera, and I didn't write anything for years. And in 2012, I asked myself whether I will be able to complete this at all, and I thought, no, probably not. So let's screw it, and let's do what I'm good at. Take the music I have and rewrite the music into Therion instead, and make we say rock opera, but I kind of realize this is a bit misleading because people don't get it. It's more like a rock musical with operatic vocals. A rock metal musical with opera vocals, because it's a stage work. If I say Jesus Christ Superstar, you're not going to tell me, oh, it's an awesome album. You think about a stage performance, which is also available in an audio version on CD. But if I say Jesus Christ Superstar or Cats or Phantom of the Opera, you're going to think about the live performance first. So this is what this is. This is actually a stage work, a theatrical stage work, which we have also recorded. So, and then when we worked on the story, I realized it's not so easy to make theater out of the book. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have changed so much that in the end there are just a few scenes that are actually directly from the book. So I would rather say in general it's more like loosely inspired by the book.
Something that I thought was quite important is it looked like you had to invent parts for the ladies because there are no females in the original book, actually. Yes, and it's quite important, I guess, for an opera to have ladies as well.
Yeah, for the story and also for dynamics of the story, but also musical.
Of course.
It would be very boring, no female voices. And that's how it started with the changing of it. We invented a wife for Antichrist, and we took a character called Elder John in the book. Very important, but he's only present for a short while. Make a big and long out of it to make it the arch enemy of Antichrist, and then turn it into a female, and then to make it very operatic, we make it so that she's the sister of the wife of Antichrist. So you really have family drama. And then the beginning of the book was very irrelevant in a way, because it tells a story of its own and has nothing to do with the rest of the story. Plus that it would be very difficult to stage as theater. It would be probably exciting as a movie, but as theater it's too difficult. So we decided to remove that altogether. And also the ending, I didn't like the ending at all. I think it was a good story, but it ended weird and very abrupt and short. It's just like out of the blue. Oh, and then the story's over. Like, fuck. He ran out of paper and had only 2 lines left, so I had to finish it off. So I wanted to have a more grandiose ending, because it's bloody opera. It has to be grandiose. Plus, we have to aim at the mainstream audience with this. Of course, we care mostly about our fans and ourselves. But if you want to stage this in full production, it needs to have a mainstream audience, because you can't move such a production from day to day, one city to another. It won't work. You need one day to put things up, one day to break things down, one day to transport it. So you need to do it at least on a weekly basis from town to town. And in some places we could probably sell it out with our fans, but there's no way we can sell out a week. We need the mainstream crowd there. Those who can see a musical and don't mind opera vocals and some electric guitars. Like Jesus Christ Superstar is a good example because it's like the 70s version of what we do except the opera vocal. Therefore, the music has to be very accessible also in a way, because our fans, they would listen to the record first. They would know the music when they go and watch. But if your mom do it, she don't have a clue of what Therion is, and she don't give a shit.
Okay.
Evening of entertainment.
Yeah.
Should we go to the movies at the cinema, or see a movie at the cinema, or should we go and see a musical? It's just an evening of entertainment, and the music have to be accessible and immediate. So there's a lot of challenges in that. You need to make a very entertaining story, and you need to have the music very varied. So it's been really, really tough work to make this going. And that's something to keep in mind when you listen to the music, that a lot of the music doesn't really make total sense unless you know what's going on. So in the booklet, we have a scene description for each scene. You can say song, but when you hear the whole thing, it makes more sense to say scene, because many of the scenes are floating together. It's like a whole long song. When you know what's happening, then it's more like film music, and it's like releasing the film music before the movie. So it's a bit backwards, but it's because of financial reasons, because we don't have the cash to stage this in a full way, and we don't even have the knowledge how to do it yet. It's something we need to figure out. But we just wanted to have this out and do a regular tour first, because that's what the majority of our fans want. They just want a new record and a regular tour where we play a couple of new songs and do old classics, so they can just drink beer and have a good time. So the whole theatrical thing, it's something for later. In best case scenario, end of the year.
Were you at some point sort of discouraged by the enormity of the project? Because, I imagine writing an opera, 3 hours of music is just something that you don't, so I don't do that every day, Christofer. So
you think that's something? Well, let me tell you the terrible truth about this. We wrote 4 hours of music, and we decided to record 3.5, and out of this 3.5, we had 3 hours and 4 minutes ending up on the final CD. So we actually wrote 4 hours. And for the 3.5 hours we recorded, I had both the best and the worst idea in my life at the same time. I thought, let's massively overdub the guitars like they did in the 80s. Like, there's a trick where you bring down the distortion on the guitar to next to nothing, and then you overdub them, like you play them again, multiple recordings up to around 16 tracks usually does the job. But we wanted to use 3 different amplifiers and mix the sound, so for us it became 18. And when doing that, then the guitar sounds just normal when you made the overdubs, but it's much clearer. You don't have a lot of fuss around this, the sinus waves. That means it's easier to mix it and make things hearable. So every distorted rhythm guitar you hear are actually in reality 18 guitars. So 3.5 hours that has been recorded 18 times.
Wow.
But that's not all of it, because those are 18 takes that we were happy with. But to get those 18 takes, we had to do maybe 50, 60 takes.
Yeah, of course.
So basically, we've been recording 3.5 hours rock opera 50, 60 times. And that is very, very tiring, I can assure you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So totally crazy. But I'm happy we did it in the end. It really makes things more clear, because there's too many things going on. We had 280 tracks. So the guy who mixed it, he had to buy a new system. He had to buy the most expensive version of Pro Tools, because the regular one that everybody else uses wouldn't be able to open the project.
Okay. That sounds crazy, actually. And is this why? I know that you had over 30 characters when you wrote the opera, and then you sized it down to 29. So I guess it's probably because you had time constrictions, and you thought, okay, this is getting out of hand, or maybe you didn't find enough people to sing.
We recorded with, I think it's 29 originally, but then I removed some scenes, so I think there's 27 left now.
Okay,
something like that.
Right.
But it's performed by 15 singers. It's actually quite common that if you have a small role in one act, and then you have another small role in another act, and it's the same type of voice character, you make a double role or even triple role. You just change clothes and makeup and wig or whatever you need to do to get into the next role in between. So you don't need to have a singer to be the police officer who sing for 5 seconds. The guy who do that, he can also do something else in some other act. So there are 15 people doing those 27 or 29 or whatever we ended up with, which was kind of necessary because it was only one voice character that was really hard to find. It was a barit tenor, it's called. It's a mixture between baritone and tenor, which are really hard to find. And I wrote it having in mind a guy I used on Secret of the Runes in 2001. And I was, full of myself, like, yeah, let's write it for this guy, without speaking to the guy. And then I realized, what the fuck, he moved away. He doesn't live in Stockholm anymore. Oh, right, it was 15 years since last time we spoke. Maybe people moved. And I couldn't get a hold of him, and nobody could give me his phone number. I tried to track him on internet and social media. It's like impossible to get a hold of the guy. So I was like, fuck, what do I do now? He can't be sung by a tenor because there are too many low notes. He can't be sung by a baritone because of any high notes. So it was really stressy and panicky trying to find somebody in the last minute. That was the last thing recorded actually on the album. Find a guy who could do this. But other than that, it was no problem to find singers. But it's so time consuming. Every time you get a new singer, you have to do the basic setup with the sound check and making the person comfortable in the studio, getting the hearing right, and sing for 20 minutes until it starts sounding good. And if you're gonna do that with every dude and woman who's gonna sing a little line here and there, it just takes forever. So I rewrote some of the voices actually, so that intentionally, so that fewer singers could do more roles. I was also thinking about the live performance. To have 15 singers in itself, you have 15 singers who need makeup, who need clothing, who need to eat, who need to sleep somewhere, who need to be transported, who need to be somewhere backstage. It's the logistics just with the singers is enormous. If we're going to have 15 or 30, that makes a huge difference. So then I'd rather have 15 and some of them are like made to do multiple roles.
So you're doing the European tour. I'm actually coming to see you in Sheffield. I'm really looking forward to that. I was wondering, you are going to present some of the songs from the opera at this tour, I guess. And if so, how did you choose which one to go for? What was the selection process for that?
We're still arguing, and we have to make the set list.
Okay.
Well, we should have done it already, but at least this week before the weekend. But everybody have very different opinions. I don't know. Since the release date is now pushed until the 9th, that means the first 9 shows we do, the CD won't be out. But we'll be having it on the shows, so it will be available for sale there. But that means people can't listen to it before, so I guess we're going to have to play those 4 songs that will be previewed via digital singles. So they kind of settled one part of the problem. Then we just do these songs so people have heard them. And then I guess we're going to do one or more track on top of that. But probably, my idea is that we do things that are very guitar driven because it's live and, it should be rock and roll, something that works out to drink a beer and have a good time too.
Are you more than usual, maybe more anxious or excited about, presenting that kind of work to the public because it's so different? Or
You know what? You want to have an absolutely honest answer. I'm just very relieved I'm finally done with this. I mean, there's been so much work with this, and after I spent 2 weeks of editing vocals, just 2 entire weeks, just sitting and cutting vocals together. And after doing these massive guitar recordings, and then after recording all these singers, then the next thing is to just do 2 weeks and just listen through all the vocal takes and cut them together. I'm just so happy that it's finally done. So for me, it's going to be more like vacation to go on tour. Like, yeah, I only need to work 2 hours a day. Just play 2 hours on stage, and that's it. Wow. So it's more like paid vacation.
Look, that's something that I have always wanted to ask you. It's about the way that you write for orchestras. Have you learned that by yourself, or did you have lessons when you were younger? How did you go about that?
I just learned it. I'm self-taught. Okay? So I just bought a book called, I would translate that, General Music Teaching or something like that.
Okay.
So something which is really average. It just explains to you the range of instruments, that you don't write notes that doesn't exist on an instrument, and if they're transposing, how you transpose them and how they're tuned and stuff like that. So this is the only thing I really had, and I started with writing only for choir, which is the easiest thing because you can hum yourself. So and of course, I completely screwed up the score, and then the guy in the studio, he fixed it for me. So I learned by doing that in the trial and error, and then we used real orchestra for the first time in '98, but it was just a small string quintet.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, there were some mistakes in the score, and the guy would tell me how to do it, and then I would learn it. So the next time, better. And then I added on a few woodwinds. And then when we did Secret of the Runes in 2001, I scored for a full orchestra, and then there was nobody there to help me. So then I've learned enough to do it. But I do remember when we did Lemurian Cyrus B, though, that was really scary, because when we did Secret of the Runes, we recorded the sections separately, like woodwind separately, and each instrument and strings all together, and then the brass, we did the horn separate, and then the trombone separate and trumpet separate. Mm-hmm. So if you had some problem, it would be just a handful of people waiting for you. Like, oh, okay, sorry, this is wrong. I just cannot, fix the score and print out a new one. And you could communicate in a different way. But when we did Lemurian Cyrus B, they were all sitting there at once. So it was like 170 people involved, all in all, on those records. So if you have an orchestra then with more than 100 people at the same time, if you do a mistake and you say, oh, just wait, we'll 5 minutes and I fix this mistake, then you have to pay 100 people.
Wow, yeah. Yes.
So I'm very proud that I went down with over 3,000 score.
Wow.
And being some whatever dudes from a suburb to Stockholm, completely self-taught, there were only 2 errors out of 3,000 pages. So
awesome.
That was my big trial of fire,
Yeah.
I remember I put it all in this paper bag that you get from the supermarket coming down. Oh, hello, here's my score. So it probably didn't appear very professional, and the conductor for the choir were yelling at me, thinking I was a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And he was maybe a bit harsh, but he was right in his critics that but we had 32 singers, which I thought was a lot. Yeah, we have a choir with 32 singers, but he was like, but this is written for 100 singers. What the fuck were you thinking? So kind of pressure.
Yeah.
But in the end, it turned out pretty good, and after that, I just felt, well, if I could survive that, I can do anything.